Hey tubers, he's back and it's another pickup video. It's an unusual pickup video. Firstly, it's for a new system that I've been collecting for the past 3 months. So I've not shown this in previous pickup videos. I've got the system, I've been collecting the games for the past 3 months, and so I've got it to show you because I finished collecting for that system. So it's a new system, but it's also one I finished collecting for. Now before I go into that, it's, you know, I forgot to do it. I think on the last pickup, but it's a vinyl of the month really. I would like to show you a vinyl pickup which I got in the past month or so. Now I must admit, this has probably been a bit longer. I probably got this about 5 weeks ago, and it's Meatloaf's "Braver Than We Are." It's the last studio album he done, and he done it with Jim Steinman, who was the writer, producer, whatever, who helped him with about Out of Hell albums, and so it's quite different style to those two albums. Well, the first, technically it's about 3 Out of Hell albums, I think there is, but the first 2 are the best. And I do have the first one on vinyl, although I've got to get the second one on vinyl when I can see it cheap, and hopefully they'll do a re-release of it. But I thought I'll get this while I still can, because it's very different to the other styles. In a way, it's more of a mature look at Meatloaf, a bit like what Rick Rubin did with Johnny Cash and Paul McCartney, in terms of, you know, revisiting those classic artists and doing different materials with them. So it's a bit more, you know, a very different flavour to the Out of Hell albums. But still, it's good to have, especially as, you know, as we're late, you know, Meatloaf's no longer with us, which is really sad. So yeah, I thought, but look at that album cover. Just look at the artwork. I just think that's cool. Anyway, back to the games. All right, the system. Neo Geo. Now I've already have a Neo Geo AES modded, and I only got one AES game, and that's Samurai Showdown 2, and I've got a multi-cart, well, 161 in 1 multi-cart, which is the best way of doing it on for AES, because it's just stupidly expensive to collect for. I mean, games are, you know, from a few £100 to thousands. So collecting for a Neo Geo is not cheap. That's if you go for AES or even MVS. Even MVS carts are very expensive these days. And I do have a multi-cart converter, so I can play MVS carts, which is what like 161 in 1 is. It's an MVS cart, but I've got an adapter, so I have Magic Key, which I can play on my AES. But anyway, to play Neo Geo games, there's obviously many other ways of doing it. You can buy the 2 little mini Neo Geo arcade machines, or you can just emulate them, or you know, you can have like the Neo Geo professional arcade stick, which I do have as well up there, which has got all the hilo hack and everything. So technically, all these games I'm about to show you, I have got other ways of playing them on those. But there was a system, another Neo Geo system, which I've been wanting for a long while, but I've not got around to getting, and that is the Neo Geo CD. And basically, to cut a long story short, I picked one up. It is. I've got some bubble wrap around it just to protect the box. It's all complete. It came with 2 controllers, which aren't cheap in themselves. Now, it's a top-loading Neo Geo, and I got this from Japan. With shipping, it was £220, which isn't bad. But when I got it, I got hit by a bloody customs charge of another £60. Well, bugger, 280 quid. Then when I plugged it in, it didn't work. I thought, shit. So, you know, I contacted the seller, and then I thought, no, let's do some investigation, see what it is. It might be a faulty power supply, could be the console itself. So I took the console apart, looked at it, couldn't see any obvious problems. Then I took the power supply apart, and it was like a blown glass fuse in it, so that was the obvious culprit. And so, meanwhile, while I was doing that, the seller replied saying, "We sorry to hear that. We're happy to give you a $100 rebate." So that's about £70 back. So in some respects that took it down from 280 to 210, which isn't bad for Neo Geo AES, although it's not working yet. So I got ordered some glass fuses off eBay, 2-amp ones, right size, and I had to solder on some legs and wires, because usually you need to have glass fuses with legs. They're not easy to get, or cheaply anyway. So I did that, took out, unsoldered the old fuse, soldered in a new fuse, plugged it in with a step-down converter, of course, and it works great, and the console works great. But part of me was thinking, I've got this old power supply. It's over 20 years old, working. I think I get a third-party one, and there's a company on eBay, Japanese Games Online or whatever, that sell them, but they're not cheap, especially into Britain. With shipping and postage, it was still about 45-50 quid mark. So I bit of a butt and did that. So in effect, a fully working Neo Geo CD with a new power supply that obviously it does not need. It's got all the plug adapters on it, so you don't need to step down converter for it, which is nice, which is what I really wanted, to make life a bit simpler, not having to mess around with them all the time. So I've done that. That's great. Working. So that's about 260 in the end. Also, what I've done with it is when I took it apart again, put a bit of mechanical grease on the moving parts on the CD mechanism, just to make life easier for it. And I did the language mod. Basically, in Neo Geo Japanese one, obviously the default language is Japanese, but on the PCB there's some options whereby you can actually just solder on a wire, a jump wire, and you can convert it from Japanese language to either European or USA. There isn't a huge difference between USA and European. Some games like Puzzle Bobble, if you did it to the USA version, it will show up the American name of Puzzle Bobble, which is Bust a Move or whatever. And there's a few subtle other differences really. A lot of the games you still get options in what language you play them in when you go into a menu. But the difference is, by doing a language mod, when you turn on a Neo Geo, instead of bringing up all the options and everything else, all in Japanese, it'll bring up in English. So that's the main reason for doing it with language mod. Also, as this system's NTSC, I didn't want to do another mod whereby you can convert it to PAL, which involves a bit more complicated work. But then there's no advantage of making it PAL, because actually NTSC 60Hz is the way to have. So because it's I'm keeping it as NTSC, I thought I might as well go for the American language over European, because obviously it keeps it like an American machine type thing, if that makes sense. So that's what I've done. And so yeah, so I've done a mod to it. Lovely jubbly. I also got from Printer Boy a nice Neo Geo seat printed vinyl cover for it. So that's all on the shelf. When I play your games, even though it comes with those little controllers, which are nice clicky controllers, I prefer the sort of a kidney bean controller, which I've got as well, which is better in my opinion for playing the games on. I actually prefer that to the big AES controller, so that's how I tend to play it with. But what about the games? Now, with a Neo Geo CD, everyone knows that there's issues around loading times, which is true. They're not at the end of the world. Also, another advantage over the Neo Geo CD is that you do get superior sound over the AES carts, even if you could afford them. Because obviously it's all CD sound, and sometimes you get additional sound, and I think on the very few games you get I think it's right to say you might get a little bit extra graphic. I'm not sure on that, but I think on a few games it might be a case, because there are some Neo Geo CD exclusive games as well, which is another reason to get it, which I've got a few to show you. But also it's down slightly cheaper. Saying that, the best time to have bought Neo Geo CD was obviously in the past, probably about 10 years ago, when you could have got a lot of games quite cheaply. Now, Neo Geo CD games that would have been pennies are about 15 quid now, like some of the common fighting games. but some games go up as high as £1,000 for a Neo Geo CD, and I'll talk more about that a bit later. So, but a lot of good games, you're looking at least £60 to £200 for a lot of good games. So it's not a cheap system to collect for, unfortunately, in Neo Geo CD, unless you just focus on a few fighters. But you wouldn't want to do that if you've got a system. You want to get all those other great games too. I think, including like third-party games, there are about 101 Neo Geo CD games there is. And I have got 22 games. And which I'm going to show you now. Now, the first 8 games are genuine, they're originals, and the remainers are reproductions. There's a company I know of, Etsy, that can do really professional reproductions on Neo Geo CDs, which is easy to do because the Neo Geo CD isn't region protected, and so you know it's relatively easy to play bootleg games. Or repos, and these are professionally reduced repos with Japanese cases, artwork, and printed discs, which are really nice and down up cheaper. So I got those for about £9 each. But before I go on to reproduction games, let's look at the original games I've got. The first one I got, which is exclusive to a Neo Geo CD, is Cyberlip, a really good side beat 'em up type game with some shooting elements too, all chucked in for good measure. It's a really great game, Cyberlip. I love it. That was about £150, guys, so it wasn't cheap. My next game, which is a bit more affordable off eBay, was about £55, and that's the Puzzle Bobble or Bust-A-Move. Really great game to have. Alright. One of the first fighting games I got, it may not necessarily be the best in the series, but it's certainly one of my favourites, and that is the King of Fighters 94. This was about £15 nowadays,
I don't know that
which is
one.
still, excuse the Siri or whatever it is, or Alexa I should say. So King of Fighters. Oh, one little tip also with Neo Geo CD games. There's no sometimes the English title of the game is not on the side, so I get a label maker and just put down what name of the game is on the side. So it looks neat, but also you can tell straight away what game is. So King of Fighters 94. That's one of the one of the best fighting games. Not the best, but certainly one of my favourites. Another game I got. To be honest, I did buy this as one of the reproductions, but I liked it so much I decided to buy the original because I could get the original for about £67 off eBay, so that's what I did. And that is Ghost Pilots. I know Alex Nintendo Arcade, he got the MVS cart to this. He wasn't that mad on it. I myself, I don't mind it. I like it. I think it's worthy to have on the collection. Another game which is really good to have on the CD is Robo Army. Again, it's a bit of a Streets of Rage I should say, not Beats of Rage, Streets of Rage type side beat 'em up with sort of sci-fi robot type elements thrown in for good measure. Really good game, but again not a cheap one, guys. That was about £150 as well. Okay, Samurai Showdown. This is the second one of the better games. Not the best maybe, but certainly one of the better ones that I like. Again, I got that for £15 original. Okay, certainly some of the better shooters. Sonic Wings 2 and Sonic Wings 3. These two together, I think they're about the £140 mark together. So not cheap games. And last but not least on the original games which I've got is from Bitmap Brothers, and that's obviously the Xenocrisis. Well, obviously, I'm keeping it sealed because I do have this on my Dreamcast and PS4 and other ways of playing this. But yeah, again, bit Bitmap Brothers, including shipping, it's about £35, so it's not bad for a Neo Geo CD game, sealed, new. Alright, these other Neo Geo set games, like I said, they're all reproductions. And I will open one of them up just to give you an idea of, perhaps I'll compare it to one original and it gives you an idea of what, you know, of what the artwork's like. Alright, the first one I got, it's like a combination of mini games, and it's ADK World. Now, there's one mini game which has it's got like a side shooter, whereby it's like a flying, like a Superman type of thing, military soldier type guy. So it's a bit unusual. Played it. The artwork's good. It's a bit of a tough game, to be perfectly honest, but still, to get a reproduction was cool, because I think the original of this is, you're paying over 150 quid for the original, so I'm not doing it. It's not worth that sort of money, but for a £9, that's definitely worth that. Another game, Alpha Mission 2, another shooter. Andro Dunas, another shooter. Like I said, with Ghost Pilots. I will do I think I will buy reproduction comparison for that one for you guys, so you can see the difference. Now this game, Ironclad, a really good shooting game. But the trouble is, if you want to get this, you're probably looking up to about £1,000 to get this, guys, for one game. So this is why, you know, to get a quality reproduction, that's a way to go for that game. And obviously it's a Neo Geo CD exclusive as well, like ADK and Cyberlit. Another game, Last Resort, classic shooter. Musician Lord, a good fantasy game. Again, a new one of them will cost you about 150 to 200. But Metal Slug games are super expensive too. So I've got a Metal Slug and Metal Slug 2. Got to have a Metal Slug games, haven't you? Mutation Nation, another Switch Race type fighting game. And Nam 1975, another good type shooting type game. Obviously you can play as a soldier shooting as opposed to a spaceship one, but again the originals are very expensive for that. Another good top down type shooting type game, although you know it's like a third person, well I say it's not third person, it's like, you know, like a counter shooting up, a bit like Mercs I suppose, is Ninja Commando, another great game to have. And then we got another shooter, Polestar. Robo Army, like I said, I do have as original. And after I played that reproduction, I thought I can't get the original, and it's worth the money in my book. And Trinker Star Sprites, I do have original of this as well on many other systems, Saturn and is it on the Switch as well, PS4 as well? I can't remember now. But anyway, again, a reproduction is the way to go because the original is hundreds. So that's my collection for Neo Geo CD. I will show you a side-by-side comparison between the original and the reproduction in a minute. But I've worked out if I bought those reproductions as original, I don't think I would have got much change from £4,000 at least, if not more. So to spend about £120 on reproductions compared to 4,000 plus, it was a no-brainer. I mean, in total, I probably spent on this system, I don't know, probably about between £800 and £900 already for a console and the games. So I think that's enough for one system, I think, myself, really. And to be honest, you know, I could have spent years collecting originals of those other games. I don't think I would ever have spent £1,000 on Ironclad though. But who could afford that? But what would you gain from it? Okay, you might think, well, those games won't go down in value. Maybe not, but they're CD-based games. I wouldn't want a £1,000 CD game, just in case something goes wrong with it, like BitRot or whatever else. And to have reproductions, quality reproductions, which you can play, it's the way to go, isn't it? And like I said, I can also play Ironclad on emulation anyway. But it's still nice to be able to play things on the original hardware, really. So let's do a side-by-side comparison between a reproduction game and an original. So look, let's do Ghost Pilots. Okay, original on my left and the reproduction on the right. It's actually a little bit darker, the reproduction. The artwork is a little bit darker. Well, let's have a look at the. Obviously, it's really good quality artwork though on decent paper. Let's open it up. Obviously, you get the manual and you get the CD, which says War Shooting Game. That's for CD. Okay, that's the original. Let's open up reproduction. With all these reproductions, you may notice I put a little sticker that says reproduction, because I'm not one of these people that will pass over a reproduction as a real game. I'm quite upfront and honest with that. So anyone wants to look at my collection, they can tell that they're all honest copies, and the reproductions are all honest too. So the reproduction disc on this one, if you notice, it says War Shooting Game as well, but what they've done is they've added the actual title of the game on it, which makes life a little bit easier if they get loose. So it says Ghost Pilots. But again, it's not like a label stuck on. It's actually it's actually on the disc. So it's actually probably printed on the disc. So it's really nice quality artwork. And £9. I think that's fine. Obviously, as I said, I got the original, and when I'm playing these, I'll probably play this reproduction, obviously, because why bother taking out the original out of the packaging and risk scratching it, even though who scratches discs these days unless you're a kid. But you know what I mean. It's I will just play a reproduction just to keep the original one protected. And that's it, guys. That is my pickups for past side pickups for the past 3 months with Neo Geo CD system with games. And like I said, I've got about 19 games, which I think, in my opinion, are. I mean, obviously 2 of them are the same game, but I think I've got the best ones for Neo Geo CD. There's not any others that I am dying to get on the system, because and if I wanted to play a lot of the other games, I probably didn't use my Neo Geo arcade stick. But anyway, guys, that's it for now. Take care, keep safe, and until next time, bye.